yesterday we have seen how we can create the databases and all the different objects with account admin, and we have managed the grant permissions for each object like virtual warehouse, database, schema, and the tables, and how we give the future grants. Okay, so one small talk pending in the role hierarchy, like what is the difference between your security admin and user admin role. Okay, so let's see this first. Okay, so user admin is also the one who can create your users and roles. Okay, so security admin also does the same thing, user admin also does the same thing, but what is the difference between these two roles? Okay, so first let's see. So I'm going to this page, and what I'm doing here is I'm switching to user admin role. Okay, right. Let's say if a user admin wants to create a user and role, he can create it and he can grant the access to it. Okay, so if you see here in this, so what I'm doing here is I'm creating a role and I'm creating a user. Okay, and after that, what I'm doing is I'm assigning that role to the user. Okay, so let's say I'm creating a role called developer, and I'm creating a user called developer1, and assigning it and assigning a role to him. Okay, so now this role is created, this user is created, and he has that role. Let's say I want to make this guy, okay, so this developer1 as sysadmin. Okay, so that means developer1, I want to give access to create the databases, schemas, virtual warehouses. Okay, so you can grant multiple roles to a user. Okay, so developer1 is already having a role called developer, right? And also I am planning to make him sysadmin. Okay, so if you want to do that, you can do this, grant role sysadmin to user, the username. Okay, so now see, it's saying grant not executed, insufficient privileges. Okay, so you cannot operate on predefined roles. Okay, you cannot grant predefined roles to some users with user admin role. Okay, user admin does not have this privilege. Okay, so for that you need security admin. So that is the reason security admin is your parent role of your user admin, and security admin has all the privileges on your users and roles. Okay, so they don't have any restrictions for security admin, but user admin can manage the users and roles created by himself or herself. Okay, so if he is the owner of that user or role, so he can manage that, but he cannot touch other predefined roles or other users created by security admin. Okay, so that is the difference between your user admin and security admin. Okay, so security admin has some high level privileges. Okay, right, so you got this difference, or any questions here? Okay, so the simple thing, so user admin can operate on users and roles, but he should create those users and roles. Okay, so he should not touch other users and roles. Okay, so that's the only thing. But most probably in the real-time environment, we will use security admin and sysadmin roles. Okay, so user admin is very rarely used. Okay, right. So this is about your all the roles and object hierarchy. Right. So today we are going to switch to a new topic: how to do the data ingestion. Okay. So when you get the data into your cloud storage, so how to bring it to your Snowflake account. Okay. So generally what happens, right? So let me show you in the diagram. In the real-time projects, you will be having different source systems. Okay. And from different source systems, you will bring the data into your Snowflake. Okay. So let's say my source system is an Oracle database. Okay. Or my source system can be another OLTP database called my Postgres database or MySQL database. Okay, so from Oracle database, I need to bring the data to my Snowflake database. Okay, so I need to bring the data. We have a symbol for Snowflake here. Yeah. Okay, so from Oracle to Snowflake, I want to bring the data, right? So that is my aim. Okay, so generally you don't directly bring the data from Oracle to Snowflake. In between, you will stage the data in some cloud storage. Okay, first you stage the data in the cloud storage, right? So what is this cloud storage, right? So for each cloud, maybe if it is AWS or Microsoft Azure or Google Cloud. So every cloud has its own storage service. Okay. So if you consider AWS, it is S3. So S3 is the storage service from your AWS. Okay. So if you consider Azure, so Blob is it is called Blob. Okay. Azure Blob is the storage service actually. Okay, so Azure Cloud is the storage service. Like this for Google, you have Google Cloud Storage. Okay, so these are the services. These are called services. Okay, so generally you'll bring the data from your source systems to this cloud storage. Okay, so first you will bring the data from your OLTP databases. It can be Oracle or it can be any other database, or it can be a flat file system also. Let's say it can be an SFTP server. It can be a Linux machine where you are putting your files. Maybe JSON files or XML files or some CSV files or Parquet files, some files you are putting there. So all these things generally, you will bring the data to your cloud storage first. Maybe it is S3 or it can be, if you are using your Azure as cloud, it can be Blob. If you are using Google Cloud Storage, maybe it's Google Cloud Storage. And from there, you need to bring the data to Snowflake. Okay, so this is the best approach generally. Okay, so why we are staging the data in the cloud storage instead of bringing the data directly to your Snowflake. Okay, so two things actually. You can use this staging as a backup thing. Okay, so if you want to use it as a backup, you can keep the files and load after loading into Snowflake. The other thing is you can directly stream the data. You can directly stream the data into Snowflake. So there are some streaming tools like Kafka. Okay, so there are some streaming tools directly which can stream into your Snowflake, but that is not writing record by record directly from Oracle to Snowflake is not a good approach because it consumes a lot of space, time. Okay, and also you need to pay more cost because your virtual warehouses should be running 24/7. Okay, so directly if you are bringing the data from your source system to Snowflake, it is not a effective approach directly. Okay. Generally, we will bring the data, we'll buffer it here once the data is accumulated, and then we will bring the data to your Snowflake. Okay, so this path is also possible, but for huge volumes of data, for historical data, generally this is the good approach. Okay, and to bring the data from your Oracle system to your cloud storage, also we have a lot of options here. We have Amazon DMS, data migration services. Golden Gate, Attenuity. There are a lot of tools to migrate the data from your source system to your cloud storage. Or if you're familiar with Python, so you have those connector packages actually. So you can connect to the Oracle and you can connect to AWS from Python and you can bring the data and extract it and put it in the S3. Okay. So anyway, we need this cloud storage first to ingest into the data into your Snowflake. We need a cloud storage, right? So for that, you need a cloud account first of all. So now we'll see what is AWS cloud. Okay, I'm going with AWS, not with Azure. What is an AWS account and how to create the trial account first. Okay, so first I'll show you how to create a trial account and then we'll see what are the services we need to know. Okay, so to create a trial account in AWS, like we created a trial account in Snowflake. So just go here and simply type AWS free trial. Right. So just click here and you will get create a free account. It's a free account till 1 year. Okay. So you can create a free account till 1 year, but this free account has some limitations. Okay. So each service has some limitations. I will tell you, it will be given in the documentation. So first we'll create a free account. So for this, just you need to have just one Gmail ID, which is not used already for AWS. And the other one is you need to have your debit or credit card information. You can give the debit or credit card information. It will deduct only 1 or 2 rupees if you're in India. So then after that, it will again they will credit it back. So no money will be deducted. You can give your credit card details or debit card details here. Okay. So first you need to give your Gmail ID. Okay. So I have one Gmail ID. It should be a brand. I mean, you should not use it earlier with your AWS account. Otherwise, you cannot create the free account. Okay, so just you need to confirm your password here. Give the password. The AWS account name, you can give any name. Go to continue, and you need to fill a lot of details here. Okay, so you can choose it's personal. Okay, for your own project, it's not a business account, and everything you can give it here. Okay. This is your country here. So everything is filled here, and check this box and go to the next step. Okay, exactly here you need to give your credit and debit account. Okay, and they immediately they will deduct 1 rupee or 2 rupee from your account. Okay, so after this you'll have 2 more steps. Okay, so let me give my information here. I'm stopping the sharing. I'm giving my card details, so I'm stopping the sharing process, and I will reshare it. So it is connecting to my bank to make sure that card is working or not. So one transaction will be made from here. So it is deducting 2 rupees. Okay. Some problem with my account actually. Yeah. So this is simple thing. Actually, you can try it on your own. Just fill the details, and after that you will get an email. Actually, okay. So there is some problem with my card. Actually, it's not authenticated. The payment method is failing here, but it's a simple process. Okay. So if you feel any problem in creating this, okay, you can ping me, or in YouTube there are some videos available to create a AWS free account. It's a just 5-minute process. Okay. After this, you have 2 more steps. You may need to fill some details. Okay. So after that, you will get an email. I have already created an account actually. So just once you create the account, right, you can log into your account. Type AWS console login. Right. So just create. I have already created it long back. So it will ask for your password, username and password. So the Gmail that you have used, you can give it with root user here. Okay. This is my Gmail and the password. Okay. Yes. So this is my AWS console, Amazon Web Services console. Okay. So everything is a service here. Okay. So if you click on the services button, so you'll see a lot of services here. See here. Okay. So let's say I told you for Amazon storage, there is a service called S3. Okay. So it's scalable storage service or simple storage service where you can put your files. Okay. So I told you if you want to extract the data from Oracle and put it in the Amazon cloud storage, you use S3. Okay. So let's say I want to spin up a new virtual machine or new Linux virtual machine or new Windows machine or new Mac machine. So generally generally we used to use that VMware software, and we used to do a lot of stuff there, right? No need. So go to compute and see this service. Anyway, we are going to discuss about this service, Elastic Compute Cloud, EC2. So if you want to create a new virtual machine or spin up a new virtual machine, so you can use this EC2 service. Okay. And let's say I want to run my, I want to create a Oracle database or Postgres database. Okay. Any other databases like that. Previously, it used to take 1 or 2 hours, right? When the cloud was not there, I remember in my BTech days, the Postgres installation used to take 2.5 hours. Okay. But now, just there is a service called, in database section, there is a service called RDS. So simply click on this RDS. Within 5 minutes, you can spin up your Postgres or Oracle instance here. Okay. So they support a lot of databases, OLTP databases in RDS. Okay. So if I want to create something, just create database here. So it will show you different databases that it supports. Okay. Within 5 to 10 minutes, you'll be able to spin up a new database. Okay. So like this, there are a lot of services. In compute, we have EC2. In storage, we have S3. Okay. In database, we have RDS. And there are some NoSQL databases, if you know. So the DynamoDB is a NoSQL database from Amazon. Okay. And you have Redshift also. Okay. In the analytics part, you have Amazon Redshift. Okay. Amazon Redshift is exactly the competitor of your Snowflake. Okay. It's a data warehouse from Amazon. Okay. Amazon itself. And you have QuickSight for visualization, like Tableau you use, right? Tableau or Power BI. So QuickSight for visualization. And there are a lot of other, services which we don't require. But as a data engineer, we need to know what is S3, what is RDS, what is EC2, right? Sometimes in some cases, if you are working with Spark, so you may need to know about EMR. If you're working with visualization, you may need to know about QuickSight. Okay, so there are a lot of services. Daily, this list is changing. Actually, a lot of things are getting added here. Okay, so it's a big ocean, but we will only discuss what are the services needed for us. Okay, so this is just basic overview of the UA part of your AWS account. Okay, so once you create your account, so you'll get to this home page generally, right? So this is your services. So first we need to know what is S3. Okay, so I told you S3 is a scalable storage service or simple storage service. Okay, so if I want to store some flat files in my cloud, okay, so I can use S3 service. Okay, so just I'm clicking on S3 service here. It will be redirect me to the S3 dashboard. Okay.
What now, is flat file?
Sorry.
What is meant by flat file?
Flat file, yeah, any file, like any. Let's say this is my text file. Okay, I want to load a text file, or I want to load a some file with some data.
Okay.
Okay. So generally, in our database case, we'll have the table data. Let's say your Oracle table has the employee data. So that employee data will be exported to a file, and that file will be uploaded here. Let me show you. I have some files here. So employee. Okay, these are flat files. Okay, so let's say I'm downloading this file. I'll show you how it will be. See here something like this, like employee ID, employee name, and its location. Okay, so the data file is called your flat file. Okay, so how to first of all we'll see what are the terminology in S3. Okay, so first the high level folder. Okay, these are all called, you can say, folder, but generally the terminology is bucket. Okay, so that is why in the diagram also you'll see a bucket symbol here that I have drawn here. So it's a bucket. Okay, so the high level folder or the top level folder is called bucket here. Okay, so if you want to create a bucket, so just click on this create bucket. So the bucket name should be unique, and here I'm giving bucket name is Snowflake. Let's say this is my bucket name, right? And you need to choose the region. So I told you for each cloud there are some regions. You can say it's a data center. So Amazon has a lot of regions, and the nearest one to India is this Mumbai one. Okay, so you can choose any region. Basically, you can choose even use US regions also. There is no problem in it. Okay, and there are a lot of other options to your S3 bucket, but leave everything as default here. Just click on create bucket. So it will create a bucket for me. So this is the bucket just now I have created, right? Our 6. Okay, so the high level folder is always called a bucket, and inside that, if you go inside it, it is empty now. Now, if I want to upload a file, right? So just click on this upload, add files. Now I have some files here, right? So EMP file, okay? This is the file I want to upload, right? So just select this file, open, click on upload, right? So this file is uploaded here. Now you can see this file, right? So this is your flat file that you have saved here. Let's say you want to create some subfolders inside it. So you can create a folder. So the high level thing is called bucket here. And inside that, the sub-level things are called folders here. Okay. So you can create a folder here. Maybe I want to create a folder called employee here. So just I will create a folder employee and I will upload all the employee files here. Okay, so this way you have this is the basic thing, how you will create the bucket and how you will create the subfolder. And there are a lot of things in the property section. Okay, you can define a versioning for your S3 bucket. Let's say I am uploading the same file again and again. So I want to store all the versions. Okay, so you can define versioning, and let's say you can define the bucket lifecycle policy also. Let's say after 10 days I want to delete the file. Okay, if the files are older than 30 days, I want to delete the file. So that can be done through your bucket lifecycle policy. Okay, and there are some storage areas, like if you are accessing very frequently, so there is the storage area called standard. Okay, so if you are accessing very infrequently, there is a storage area called glacier. Okay, so depending on your application, you need to choose the storage area, but generally we'll use the standard thing. Okay. So this is very basic thing about your S3. So how you will create a folder, how you will upload it. Okay. But generally in real time, you don't do this manually from UI. Okay. So I told you, if you want to bring the data from your Oracle system to your cloud storage like S3, there are some tools. Okay. So there are some tools like DMS, I told you, Affinity, Golden Gate, even Matillion. The Matillion also you can use it from to extract the data from your source system to your S3. Okay. So there are a lot of other tools also. Okay. Right. So this is very basic thing about your S3. Okay. Now let's see how to create a new user. Okay. Now I am using root account. Okay. So my email ID, I am using it. That is called your root account. Okay. Let's say I want to create another guy joined in my team. I want to create a new user for him. Okay. So if you want to create a new user, so there is a service called Identity Access Management, IAM. Okay. So that will be in the administration part. We'll see here. See here, security, identity, and compliance. Okay. So this is the service. Okay. It's like your account admin role in Snowflake, right? Account admin or security admin, where you create new users and roles, right? The same way, Amazon Web Services has this service, IAM. Okay. So now I want to create a new user. Okay. So if I want to create a new user for this account, just click on this IAM. So go to users. Right. So let's say I want to create a new user. Okay. So you can give the username here. And here access type, whether you want to log in from your UI. So if you want to log in from your UI, check this box. And there is another access called your programmatic access, where you'll get two types of keys, access key ID and secret access key. Okay. So I will tell you what is the purpose of this. Okay. I'm also checking this. Okay. I need programmatic access as well as I want to log in from my UI. Okay. So I want to give a custom password here. Right. Just click on next. Okay. So I'm creating a user with two access, like console access. Console means the web UI access, and with programmatic access. Okay, go to next. Now, there are some things called policies. Okay, so first I don't add any policies, nothing. Just I will create a simply a new user. Okay, go to next. This is also optional. Okay, the user has no permissions. I leave it, no problem. I am creating it. Okay, create the user. Right. So I told you we'll get two things like access key ID and secret access key. So save these keys or you can send an email. Okay, it is going to. So just save these keys. These keys are important during our data loading part. Okay, so I'm saving these keys here. So if you want to load the data to Snowflake, you may need these keys. There is one approach. So first you need to save these keys. Again, after that you won't get these keys. Okay. Okay. Here we have download CSV option. You can download it here. Okay. Now, so I am closing it. Right. So if I want to log in with that newly created user, so what I can do is again I will open that console login page. So I will open a incognito window. Otherwise, it will go to my root account. So now I am in my root account. Okay. So my root account is my email ID. Okay. So now I have created a new user. So with that user, I want to log in. Right. So for that, what I will do here, I'll go to new incognito window and say replace. Sign in. Right. So till now, I logged in with root user using my email ID, like the Gmail ID. But now I have created a user that is called my IAM user. Okay. So now I will log in with my IAM user. So check this box, right? So you need to give the 12 digits account ID or account alias. So the account alias is the one that I gave, right? Snowflake training something. Or you can give the account ID. Okay. You can find it in the root account. Okay. So here exactly you can find it. So this is my account ID, 12 digit account number. Or the account alias is training here. Okay. Anything you can give it here. 12 digit account number. Go to next. So it will ask for your username and password now. Okay. So what is the username I gave? Okay. Now I'll log in with. Because I have given the console access, so I am able to log in, right? Good. Now, let's say the same way I have created a bucket with my root user, with my Gmail ID user. So I have created some bucket here. Let's try to create a bucket with the new user. Okay. So if you go to S3, see here, you don't have permission to list buckets. Okay. You're not able to see the buckets at all. Okay. Why? Because this particular user does not have any permissions on any service. Just simply I have created a user. Okay. So this guy does not have any permission. So how to give the permission to this user? Okay. So go to your root account. So this is my root account. In the user section, what is the user? This is the user, right? So go here. Right. So in the permission section, add permissions. Okay. Click on add permissions. So this I can do while creating the user also, but intentionally I did not do it to show you that if you create an empty user, you don't have anything there. Okay. So there are some policies like if you want to relate it to Snowflake, policy is a privilege like select access on table, insert access on table, usage access on the warehouse. Like this, now you need to give the access on S3. Okay. Let's say that user want to use S3. So you need to give a policy called S3 full access. So there are predefined policies for S3. So if you type S3 here, you will get a lot of things here. So if you want to only read only access, give read only access. If you want to give the full access, you can give the full access. Okay. So I am giving the full access here. Check this box. Next. Right. So if you want to add more permissions also, you can add it, but already this permission is added. Okay. Now this user V Kottakonda I have created have this S3 full access. So let us see now whether we can see this. Okay. I will refresh this. See here, now he is getting all the buckets. Now he can create a bucket, right? So it's like the same thing we discussed in Snowflake admin activity, right? So you can create a user and you can create a role and you can give this particular privileges to that role, and that role is access to user. That role given granted to user in Snowflake. Here there is without role also you can do this. Okay, so here also there is a role concept. We'll discuss that, but you can create a user directly. You can give the permissions to him. Okay, so this way you can give a lot of permissions. So let's say this user you want to make this user as an administrator. Okay, so there is another service, another privilege. Okay, so you can add permission again. So what is that permission? Is administrator access. So if you give administrator access, the created user, new user also can create another users and lot of stuff he can do it. Okay, so if I want to give administrator access, I can check this box. So now he will get the administrator access. Okay, so this is the way to create the users and your policies. Okay, right now. So you don't need to worry about these things, IAM and all. Just to practice purpose, I am telling this. Generally, in real time, you in your project, right? So there will be admin. So AWS admin team, they will do all these things for you. Okay. So if you want to create a new user or if you want to give some access, everything will be done by your AWS admin. Okay. But as a developer, if you know this, this is really helpful. And to practice also, you may need to do all these things. Okay. So AWS admin is responsible for this. Okay. Someone has some question. How to delete created user? Yeah, you have that option, delete user here. Okay. If you go to IAM, in the user section, you can delete some. See here, delete option is there. Okay. Let's say I want to delete this user, I can delete like this. So you need to give some text here to confirm it's not accidental delete. So you can delete the user. Okay. And this is from UI. Okay. This is from UI. And you have the command line to tool called AWS CLI. Okay. So from command line also, by typing the commands, you can do it. Okay. So I will show you that how to do it. Okay. So this is your user and what is IAM, right? So let's say I got a requirement in my team. I want to spin up a new virtual machine or new Linux machine where I want to run my Python code. So for that, generally what you do is you will use the service called EC2. So Elastic Compute Cloud. Okay. So if you want to run any virtual machine, then you need to go for this EC2. Okay. So how to create an EC2 instance? Okay. So as a Snowflake developer, you don't need to know about EC2. Okay. But I am telling you this. This is really useful when you go for Python programming and that. Okay. So it is better to have an idea. Okay. So let us create a virtual machine. Okay. Click on EC2 here. No. So you can simply click on this launch instance. Okay. So here you see there are some machine images. These are called AMIs, Amazon Machine Images, which comes with some operating system and with some pre-installed softwares. Okay. So if you choose Amazon Linux 2, so Linux operating system will come with that. You may get Python. Okay, Python installed here, and you have something like Mac OS. Okay, you have Red Hat Linux, SUSE Linux. So these are flavors of your operating systems. Okay, so Windows, Ubuntu you have, right? So many operating systems you have, right? So if you see here in this machine images, it is saying free tier eligible here. Okay, so this is not free tier eligible. Okay, so don't touch any Amazon machine images which are not free tier eligible. Otherwise, you will be billed for that. Okay, so I want to create a machine with Linux or Ubuntu. Okay, so personally, generally I like Ubuntu, so I will create a Ubuntu machine. So Ubuntu is also one kind of Linux operating system. So there is one free tier version. Yeah, this one 16.04, and there is another one. Yeah, 18. This is a stable version I'm using actually. So it is working good with Python and Snowflake. So this is the Ubuntu machine. Okay, so I'm selecting this operating system. I want my Ubuntu operating system. Select here. And for any machine, right, you need some CPU, you need some RAM, right? So generally when you buy a laptop, you choose that configuration, right? So here we have different instance types. Okay. So depending on your application, let's say I want to run a Python code. So small Python code, maybe T2 Nano or T2 Micro is enough for me. Let's say my application is a big data application. Maybe I need a lot of space and a lot of things. So I may need to T2 2x large. So depending on your application type, you need to choose the instance type here. Okay. So clearly they mentioned in the documentation how the network performance will be, how the storage will be, so how many CPUs are there, how much memory is there. So depending on your requirement, choose the instance type. But as a free tier account, you don't have any other option, only you can choose T2 Micro here. So this is only free tier eligible. So you should choose only this. If you choose others, you'll be billed. Okay. Yeah, you can create a Windows virtual machine also in AWS Cloud. Okay. But our intention is generally in real time. We will always use our Linux machines to run our ETL code or to run our Python code, right? So this will be really useful for us. Okay. So that's the reason I'm going with Ubuntu. Okay. So choose this instance type and just click on review and launch. There are other options, lot of other options like what is the network firewall, something. So that is not needed for us because we are not AWS administrators. So just simply click on review and launch. Okay. So everything here, click on launch here. Okay. So now to log into your machine, once your machine is created, to log into your machine, generally we use username and password, right? But here there is a different upshot. You will have public and private key pairs. Okay. So you need to supply that private key. It will be a file generally. If you supply that file, then only you can log in into that machine. Okay. So how to create that key, right? So I'll create a new key pair here. So I'll use some name here. I'll say so simply I will download that key pair. So this is really important. Keep this .tem file and click on launch instance. Okay. So within 2 to 3 minutes, your instance will be ready. Okay. Go to view instances. Right. So this is in pending state. This is the one I have created. Okay. So I already have other instances. So now it is creating this instance, T2 Micro instance, right? So you can give some name here. I'll give okay, so this is my machine. See here, within 1 minute, it is running. Now your machine is ready to use. Okay. Right. So now your machine is ready to use. So how to log into this machine? So if you people already work with Linux machines, so you have a software called Putty, right? So through Putty, you log in into this machine. Okay. So how you log in with this machine means you need to know Putty. Okay. It's a simple thing. You can directly download. Okay. It looks like this Putty. Okay. So here you need to give all your machine details. Okay. You can directly download here from Google. Putty. So here you have putty.exe with a different bit. Okay, anything you can download like 64-bit. And with Putty, you need to download one more thing called PuttyGen. Okay, so these two things are required for us. Okay, Putty and PuttyGen. Just click on this; it will automatically download that Putty for me. Okay, so that software for me. Okay, so directly you can open it like this. You will get the icon in your Windows. Double click on this, you'll get this icon. Okay. Now you can log in into your machine. Okay. So how you can give what is the username? Okay. You need to give the username first. So the default username to log in into your machine is Ubuntu. Right. So this is my default username. Ubuntu. @ you need to give the IP address. Okay. So from where you will get this IP address? Right. Go here. This is my answer. Here you'll find an IP address. Okay. So this is my public IP address. Okay. Just click on this. Paste it here. Ubuntu @ my IP address. Now I need to give the password, right? So I told you there is no password approach here. You need to upload a private key file. Okay. So where you will upload that private key file, expand this in the authentication section. You need to upload the private key file, right? So from where you will get this private key file. So if you remember, I have downloaded one file, right? The PEM file, right? So go to that PEM file. So this is my file. I'm copying this one. Right? So I'm pasting it here. Now, this PEM file need to be converted to a private key file, PPK file. Okay. So directly you cannot use the PEM file here. You need to convert it into a PPK file. Right. So to do that, you need to use this puttigen. Okay. So just double click on puttigen, upload this file, PEM file. Okay. Load. Go to desktop. Snowflake. This is the one, right? So I will open this and then save private key. Okay, I need a private key file. Yes. So give same name you can give, but the extension is now PPK. Instead of PEM, it is PPK. Save it. Okay, so this is my PPK file now, right? So simply I'll browse and give that PPK file. So that is stored on my desktop. Just give that PPK file here. Open. Okay. So you will be logged into your machine, your Linux machine. See here. I'm changing the settings here. So see here, within maybe 5 to 10 minutes it has taken, I am able to spin up a new virtual machine. Okay. So this is a way to create a new virtual machine in your AWS cloud. Okay. That is your EC2 service, Elastic Compute Cloud. Okay. So as a Snowflake developer, you don't need to worry about the setup. If you don't get it, the setup and all, don't worry about it. Okay. So your admins will do it. Just I wanted to show you this process. Okay. So this is a way to spin up a new Linux machine or new Ubuntu machine, or you can even spin up a Windows machine. Okay. Now, what I will tell you is why I'm discussing all this is we need to establish a connection between your S3 to Snowflake, because my all files are in S3. Okay. And I want to load that files into Snowflake, right? So my all files are in S3 service. That employee file. Let's say I have an employee file, and that employee file has to be loaded into my Snowflake table. Okay, let's say I will create an employee table. So I want to load all these files into my Snowflake. So there is a process to establish the connection between Snowflake and S3. Okay, so you want to establish a connection between S3 and Snowflake, right? So there are some approaches to establish a connection between the Snowflake S3 bucket and Snowflake. But before discussing this topic, right, what I will do is first we will establish a connection between your S3 and EC2. Okay, the machine I have used, right? So what EC2 can be denoted by this icon. Okay, so first I will establish a connection between my S3 and EC2. Okay, then we'll discuss how to establish the connection between S3 and Snowflake. Okay, so first we'll discuss this part. This is not needed, but to make you understand better, I'm teaching this. Okay, so once we establish the connection between S3 and EC2, okay, so I will download a file that is uploaded in S3 to this EC2 machine. Okay, after that, what I will do is I will tell you how to establish the connection between S3 and Snowflake, and we will load the files from S3 to Snowflake. Okay, so that I will cover in the Monday's class. Okay, so the data ingestion, that is really important class. So 60% of your interview questions will be from the data ingestion part. Okay, so you people will be learning all those things. I will be telling what are the real-time errors you'll get it while loading the data. So everything we'll discuss that on Monday's session. Okay. Tomorrow and day after tomorrow there is no session. So from Monday we'll continue. Okay. So if you have any questions, you can ask me. So don't worry about the setups part. Setups can be taken care by your administrator. Okay. So our main aim is to bring the data from S3 to Snowflake. So that we'll discuss on Monday. Yeah. So yeah. Any question, please? Okay, cool. Yeah. So we will discuss on Monday then. Yeah.
Vinod, one question.
Yeah, system.
Ubuntu version was 18, right? The rest
Right.
all were paid, right?
16 is also free actually.
Okay.
16 is also free. 20 is also free. The rest that is coming with some packages like some machine learning packages. Those are paid actually.
Okay, got it. And one more thing, is there something which we shouldn't click so that we'll get paid and also?
Sorry.
Is there any general thing which we shouldn't click? Example S3 storage or something where we'll get paid. We'll always have alerts, right? Some
yeah, you can put some notification alerts, but I'm telling like as a new user we'll make that mistakes because we are using free tier account, right? So that is a problem. Even I paid some money initially, so that is the reason I'm telling repeatedly, don't choose another, just only select free tier.
But we'll always have that free tier tag, right? Everywhere.
Yes, we have the free tier tag. Even if you want to spin up a Postgres machine, RDS Postgres instance, you have that free tier. So choose that free tier.
Yeah.
So for everything, you have that free tier tag.
Thanks, Vinod.
Yeah. Any other question, guys?
Vinod, this account admin will have some extra privileges, right, when compared to sys and security. So what are
account admin? Right.
Yeah,
so what are those extra privileges? So I told you today, we need to establish the connection between S3 and Snowflake. Okay. So that can be established only with account admin role. No other role can do it. So that is one thing. And I told you in yesterday's class also, I have shown you that billing dashboard. So if you have this account admin role, you'll see this account button. Okay. So you can go to billing and a lot of things you can do it here. Okay. So only account admin can do it. Let's say I am switching it to sysadmin, right? I'm switching it to sysadmin. You won't get the account button here. See, account icon is not there. So there are a lot of other things. So we will be slowly discussing while doing the data sharing. Only account admin can create the shares. Okay. So there are a lot of extra privileges for account admin. Okay, so yeah. So from Monday onwards, we'll be sharing through Gmail IDs only. Till now, I shared as a public access. Okay, all the videos are given public access. So from Monday onwards, we'll only share to the people who are willing to continue with the course. Okay. So just ping your Gmail IDs here. I will capture it now, and then we'll see who are really interested to carry forward. So you can ping me your emails here. Okay. I'll copy paste everything, and then yeah, if you don't have any questions, you can drop off.
One more thing,
yeah,
the instance we have created, the Ubuntu instance, is generally for connecting the Oracle and then push it to the staging area, which is nothing but S3. That's the only reason, right?
No. So why
I didn't get the reason for why
I have created why I have choose. Your question is why I have choose Ubuntu instead of Linux, or why we have.
What was the purpose of creating a new system actually?
Okay. So I wanted to tell you that there is a service available in your AWS that you can go with. You can create an instance. Okay. So let's say I want to run some Python code where I want to connect to Snowflake. Okay. So I want to do some automation. So where you will run that Python. So to do that, you need some machine, right? So in future classes, we'll use this. Okay. In the Python use cases class, I'm going to do this. So just I wanted to show there is a service in AWS.
Okay. Basically to run our scripts or whatever we do.
Exactly.
for us, right? Yeah.
That's right. Let's
Work
say I want to
area.
run.
Okay. Got it.
Exactly. So you need some server to run your code. Right?
Yes.
That's the reason I told you. And there is another purpose. I want to show you how to services from AWS will talk to each other. Okay.
Great.
Okay. On Monday's class. So how these two things will talk to each other. After that, how an AWS service and a service outside your AWS. So Snowflake is the one which is outside your AWS. Okay.
Yeah.
So how these two things talk together. So first we'll see how two AWS things talk together, and then we'll see one AWS service and other non-AWS service talks together. Okay. So that to show the difference, I started this.
Sure. Great. Got it.
Okay. So
Thank
to
you.
make you understand. Yeah. So, any other questions, guys? Okay. Yeah. So we'll connect on Monday. Okay. So we'll connect on Monday and discuss.
Vinod, you can share video as much as possible whenever you are having free time. So
Sorry,
that
sorry.
so whenever you are having free time, please share the class video as much as possible, so that we can continue whenever we have a free time.
Right. So that's the reason we're taking 2 days gap. So I'll share all the videos in the Dropbox. So till now I have made it public. So I'll share in the that's why I'm collecting all the Gmail IDs who are willing to continue. So I'm going to share the videos to the videos. Okay.
One more last question.
Yeah. Just a minute.
To connect to EC2, do we have another way other than PuTTY?
No. I mean, PuTTY is the software where you can connect to.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Yeah, we not wait actually. We are pinging email IDs.
Yeah, please ping the email IDs. So I'll be sharing the recordings, all the recordings from demo to till this day. Okay. Again in the Dropbox.
Yeah. So,
Thank you, Vinod.
Everyone.
Okay, thanks, Vinod.
Yeah, thank you.